Hello class, welcome back. Today we're going to start talking about Hinduism. But we need to do a little bit of history first and a little bit of detective work first. So I just want to remind you, we've talked about the definition of religion, and religion is the belief or set of beliefs we use to give meaning to our experience. So now we're going to start looking at those beliefs and sets of beliefs. And we're going to start with Hinduism. We will also look at some origin stories, but I first want to introduce you to the people groups that become the religion that we call Hinduism. So we have to go back in time a little bit. Also remember that there are internal and external challenges to religion, and that's how religion is dynamic. It's not a static thing that we could just study. It's a process of development of beliefs in contact with other people with different beliefs. So religion gets defined in contact with other people. And contact with other people with different views is what raises consciousness and helps us to become more consistent. So Hinduism, what we call Hinduism today, gets defined in terms of its contact with a couple different people groups, the Indo-Aryans and the Dravidians, or the Indus Valley people. So we need to look into those two people groups, and we're looking back to maybe 2300 before Common Era, a long time ago. So the Indo-Aryans are a group we know about. They come from the what we call Turkey now, up in, I wish I had a map to show you. You know what? I'm going to get a map. Hang on a second. Okay, I'm back with a map. So we want to look at, here's India, and India is where Hinduism originates, but the people groups that form Hinduism, before it's Hinduism, come from the Indo-European people, which are in this area. See, here's Turkey. They go this way later on and make up the Europeans. They also go down here to Iran, and they go here to India. So these are called the Aryans, the Indo-Aryan people. So they come into India, to the top part, but there are people already living in India, and the Aryans called them the Dravidians, which means dark skin. So there will be an element of race relations here. But the terms we use now for the people are the Indus Valley civilization. And I'll show you the Indus Valley civilization in another image in a moment. But here's India. This is the part of the world we're going to be talking about. The Indo-Europeans come from the north and push the Indus Valley people south. And they come into contact with one another, and through that contact, Hinduism is born. So we are going to talk about what we think those two groups had as their religion before Hinduism. All right, so I want to give you some of the characteristics of these groups. So I'm going to go back to the handout. We're on this handout, Hinduism, and we're now talking about the Aryans and the Dravidians. And also know that Dravidians are the Indus Valley people. We're going to talk about their time and place and main characteristics. So let's talk first about the Indus Valley people, because I want to talk about their characteristics and civilization. I'm going to go back to, hopefully my positioning is still right. There we go. There is a website I'd like you to look up called Harappa.com, Harappa.com. Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro are places where we've found remains, archaeological remains, that's evidence of the Indus Valley people, an early civilization. Now you should be curious and be like a detective. Ooh, look what these people made back in 2300 before Common Era. What's going on here? So we want to talk about what we know from these places. It may even be 3000 BC, before Common Era. But what we know is that there was a civilization here. And you have to think about what's involved in a civilization. These are city dwellers. And they left behind remains. So we know about this group from the cities we've excavated and what we found there. We don't really find a lot of writing from them. We found some seals, which I will show you. Over here you can see this seal with something like a, I don't know, unicorn maybe, unicorn seal. So we're going to talk about the civilization that we've found and what evidence they left and what we can infer from the remains that we have found there. So we can at least infer that they are city dwellers. These are cities. And they're highly developed cities. They have agriculture. They have left granaries where you store grain. I will show you some of these pictures as we go along. Let me get to the granary. Here we go, the Great Bath and the granary area. So you can see it's a walled city. There are places here for storing food, grain, which means they have to grow the grain. That takes a certain kind of civilization to grow grain, right? I'm trying to get to the bath. There, that's a good one of the bath. All right, so they have left behind what looks like a big pool, right? It has, this will contain water. It has steps going down into the water, and there were, structures all along it, maybe housing, rooms all around the bath area. So we have that as a piece of evidence. What does it mean? Now we have to interpret it, right? We have some iconography. I need to go back to the home page and show you some. Oh, there are drawings here of some of the iconography we've found. I want to go to the seals, though. This is what happens in class every time I go to this website. I get lost. So you're getting a sense of what it would be like in the classroom. Here we go. Look at that. Mystery at Mound F in Harappa. Let's look at this one. Here are some figurines that we've found. And there are female ones. There are male ones, and there's some males with beards. Oh, I wish I could find that one. I think he was on another page. I'm going to go back to the male with the trimmed beard and the ponytail. I also want to show you this seal. So some of the evidence we have is artwork or iconography, seals. This one's called the Horned God. What do you see if you look at this? Let's see if we can make it bigger. What do you see looking at this? It looks like a man sitting in a yoga position. Here are his feet. Here are his knees. And his hands are resting on his knees. And he's got something on his head. Perhaps he's meditating. We'll have to think about he's sitting on something like a table maybe. He's meditating. And then there's some script written above his head. So far, scholars have been unable to decipher the script. It's like a new language we don't know yet, and they're trying to figure it out. All right, so I have to mess something up for a second here. I try to keep everything centered, but it's not always going to work out that way. Okay. So those are some of the, let's see if we could find some more of the seals. I want to show you some of the other seals. Here's one, that's pretty. Here's one. You can see that there's letters above them and animals. Here are some of the other things we found. This is more artwork. And I'm going to go, let's see. What happens if I hit the slides? Nothing good, okay. Let's go back to the slides. And I want to look for here's another one with an image of animals and I don't know, people maybe. So why don't you go through some of these slides, pull it up on your computer and look around. I'm going to tell you what else we find here. Oh yes, here's a person. I think if you read around on this website, you'll find that they're trying to figure out what that script means. It's a mystery that has to be solved. Maybe it's under essays. Ooh, look at this. A brief introduction to the ancient Indus civilization. That looks exciting. So you can go looking. The script. Here it is. Deciphering the Indus script. Generally recognized as the world's expert on the Indus script, Asko Parpola has been studying this undeciphered writing for over 40 years at the University of Helsinki in Finland. So you could read about it here and see how they're trying to figure out what does it mean, what are the pictures, how do we know. So it's about interpretation. All right, I'm going to let you do some searching around. But what we find are, this guy is called the Horned God, and they think he might be an early form of the god Shiva, who we'll learn about in Hinduism. All right, so the script is not interpreted yet. They have city planning. Let's go back to the city. I'm going to tell you some of the features that I think are amazing. Here we go. There are granaries, there are roads, there's running water and sewers, a sewer system for each house. So this is very advanced for the time. So you have to think about what kinds of beliefs would people that wanted to live in a city together have? What kinds of beliefs would they have about ultimate reality? What do these baths mean? I'll tell you what scholars think. Let me go back to the, oh, here's some kids. Streets. I guess we have old pictures of streets. I want the bath, if I can get back to that. They think that the bath is a place for ritual bathing, where there were ritual ceremonies of some kinds of cleansing. And perhaps those houses, the structures I was showing you around the bath, were for priests to live in. So there probably was a priestly caste, and there's ritual bathing. They would have to have some kind of organizational structure to live together in a city like that and to build together. So we can only speculate at this point. It's like detective work. But what scholars think is that their view of reality is not personal. It's impersonal. That this Lord of Creatures image that we had, I'm not going to go back to it, the guy in the yogi position, may be an early manifestation of the god Shiva, and the god Shiva goes with a view of reality that is impersonal. So these are clues about what the Indus Valley people contributed to Hinduism later on, when it becomes Hinduism. So we don't know about their gods. We don't even know if they had gods. Those figurines we saw could be toys for kids. That's what I heard. These could be goddesses, or they could be children's playthings. These are probably seals for doing business, like a logo. So this is perhaps a business name or a person's name, and this is the logo, the seal, so that they can do trading and business. That's one theory, right? We don't know for sure, but it is a theory. So they're conducting trade, business. They have some art or children's toys. They have a bath, and it's probably connected to rituals. Right, so these are the clues we have from the Indus Valley or Dravidian people. Now, what about the Aryans? What do we know about them? I don't have any cool pictures. I'm going to go back to the map, and we're going to talk about their living in this area north of India, and what we know about the Aryan people. The Aryans are Indo-Europeans. Their dates are probably 2000 to 1500 before Common Era. And they went to Turkey, to Greece. Oh, I forgot to tell you, they went to Greece, where Greece is here. Turkey, Greece, Mesopotamia, Iran, or Persia, and India. So they went to this area and they traveled. They were conquerors. They had a language. There's probably a Proto-Indo-European language and worldview. So we have similarities in language between groups. So Sanskrit becomes the official language of India, but it is related to Greek. So we think there's a proto-language. It's similar to Greek and Latin. They have the Indo-European people, Indo-Aryans, have similar social structure. It's called tripartite. They're divided into prophetic or poets, priests, and warriors. So the word, people focused on the word or philosophy, priests who are ministering before the gods, and warriors. Maybe the poets are with the priests. They have similar gods. So here are some groups that have similarities that come from this Indo-European, Proto-Indo-European group. Indo-Aryans that go to India, the Aryans, the Greeks and Romans and Norse and Iranian gods. They're polytheists. Remember polytheism, many gods. And their gods are similar. I will tell you about some of their gods in a little while. The Aryans, I'm just going to call them Aryans for now, are nomads. Do you know what a nomad is? Nomads are on the move. So the Indus Valley people stayed in one place. They harvested the land, they put down roots and built. Nomads travel around. They are pastoral people. They have flocks and herds that they're pasturing. So they're on the move and they're probably going through this area looking for grass and water for the flocks that they're pasturing. They probably need food for the animals. So they're not agriculturalists. They're not sedentary, planting and growing and staying in one place. They're migratory, and they're warriors. One of the things we know about them as warriors is that they had chariots. And we also know that chariots are a new technology, a way to invade. So they're maybe invaders. All right, what they did leave behind that we know about is a lot of writing. So they left the Vedas. We're going to talk about the Vedas in the next video. What we know about their values from the Vedas is that they're warriors. They have a warrior culture. They were lusty livers, meaning they love drinking soma, which is some kind of intoxicant. They have stories they've left, and we'll talk about the song, the hymn to Soma. Soma is a god, and it's also something you ingest, and it gives you like strength for war. They liked gambling, so they're gamblers. They eat beef, but what do we know about most of Hinduism today? Vegetarians. How did that happen? These are beef eaters and probably cattle herders. So what happened? How do the people who invade India, who are cattle herders, become vegetarians? See, it's a detective story, right? You've got to figure this out. So the focus for the Aryans was on this life. This life, they pray for ghee, which is clarified butter. Have you ever had ghee? Oh, it's so good. It's very rich, it's fat. It's the fat. It's the best of the fat from the milk of the cow. And it's what the gods like. So you offer ghee to the gods. It's a sign of prosperity and wealth. So they love ghee. They pray for ghee. They love food, fire. They hang out at the fire and tell stories. They ask the gods to bless them and give them heroic strength. They're looking for material blessings in this life, victory in battle, children, food, ghee, soma. They want to escape from suffering. This is a problem. There's lots of suffering, so they pray to the gods to help them in the midst of suffering, which is part of popular religion, right? Practical and psychological needs. There are some references to another world, but not many. It seems like this world is the place for them, and if there is a heaven-like place, heaven, it's like this world, but just a little bit better. They had horses. They liked to race horses and gamble. They had chariots, like I mentioned. Horses are going to be new to India. They're imported, and they're fast, and they're a way of taking over. So horses, chariots, horse races. And so the other part of this culture is that it's patriarchal, if that's what you want to think of it as. The males were the poets and the priests and the warriors. So we have some changes that occur when the Indus Valley people are invaded. I think it was an invasion. Now, the question is, was it over time, waves and waves of people coming in with their animals and overwhelming them and pushing them south? Or is it quickly with chariots and warfare? We really don't know. But it is an invasion of some sort. It could be a gradual overwhelming, or it could be quickly. I think with the chariots, it may have been quickly. But changes that come in when the Aryans meet the Dravidians, and there's now a challenge to their way of life, both of them. What changes is that we see a move over time from being beef eaters to being vegetarians, from the Aryans being polytheistic to moving into a monism over time. Remember, monism means one, where the gods are not the source of ultimate reality. What is the source of this change? What is the main influences that make up Hinduism from these two people groups coming into contact? So that's what we're going to talk about next. Some of the things we need to look at are the gods of the Aryans and the Vedas. So that's what I'm going to pause now, and next time we're going to talk about, let me get to the handout and show you where we're going to go next. We just talked about the Aryans and Dravidians, time and place, main characteristics. A core question coming from this video is, please summarize the main characteristics of the Aryans and the Dravidians from what we discussed. So you need to come up with a summary. Who were the Aryans? Who were the Dravidians? What do we know about them? Next time, we're going to talk about Vedic religion, which comes from the Aryan people. We know about the Vedic religion from their writings, the Vedas. And I left my Vedas in my office at school, so I can't show you, but it's a very thick collection of writings. And this is just one part of it, is about that thick. But you can find it online. I will show you some Vedic writings. We're going to go over some origin stories from the Vedas. So that's what we're going to do next. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next video.